What's the research currently showing us in terms of the trajectory for teens with a parent with mental illness?
Although the fear is real and understandable, actually, very recent research has found that, frankly, most people who have a loved one, meaning a first degree relative, a parent or a sibling with like schizophrenia, 92% do not develop schizophrenia themselves. Similarly, with like depression, 85% of people who have a first degree relative with depression do not develop depression themselves. So,
It's like,
yes, are they at higher risk? Yes, they are. But it's pretty good batting averages. And then what I try to talk to families and children about is, and there are things you can do about it. There's been some really cool longitudinal following young people over time, looking at things that actually they can do that can increase their resilience, their ability perhaps to prevent maybe the illness, and if it does emerge, have effective coping skills for being able to manage it. So I'm all about focusing on what you have control over.
that's beautiful. I love that. And now my next question is related to that. What are some of those strategies? This is fascinating.
Yeah, excellent. So part of it, and part of why we wrote the book, is education. Learning about this stuff, understanding again, it's not your fault. Understanding what some of these illnesses can be, knowing how to recognize and talk about some of these things that are developmentally appropriate. But educate yourself. Secondly, have regular care providers in your life that you can know and work with over time. Because, like with many things, cancer, whatever else, early intervention is huge. So don't wait till you've been having, been in bed for, 4 months at a time and haven't been eating and sleeping, when these sorts of things start. Now, I'm not saying overreact to bad days. We all have bad days. But when you notice patterns, seek help early. Get information, seek help early, have providers that you can trust. Try to avoid isolation. As we just talked a few minutes ago, it's very common to feel so alone, but having other people in it, to be frank, it may not be your biological parent at the time or a co-parent. They may not have the resources. So as I talk again to families, who else can be in your camp? Who else? Perhaps it's a neighbor, an aunt, a teacher, a clergy, who knows? But connect with and find other people, other activities in your life. The other things are one that I think people say, oh, of course, Michelle, we know this is true. But common sense isn't always common practice, right? Things like making sure we get adequate sleep, making healthy eating choices, being careful to limit or avoid substance use, these sorts of things, social connection. All these things are really, really important too. Minimizing and being careful about social media use. All these things actually are related to our health, and they are choices that we can make today. So all these sorts of things. But I think a big part is education, connecting with people who can take care of you, learning about illness, not overreacting to little things, and then making healthy choices.
And I love that because it gives our youth back a sense of agency. There are things that I can actually do. Dr. Sherman, as we talk about them kind of reaching out to that circle of support, and your book is beautiful in that it actually shows really concrete ways on how to figure out who are safe and trusted people and how much to actually share. And I'm wondering if for many of our teens, there may be a kind of a sense of betrayal in talking to a friend or to a teacher about what's actually happening at home.
It can be hard. It can be hard to know what to share and with whom and how to respond when people are hurtful and unkind. And let's just face it, as a bit of a PS to my last comment and an intro to this one, sadly, there is a lot of inaccurate information on social media. People may be reading all sorts of information or saying things or hearing from friends or other people, stuff that's actually not helpful and not accurate. And so being careful where you get the information, trying to find trustworthy sources, be it counselors, hopefully teachers or things like that. But at times, kids, adults can be mean, can be hurtful, and can say mean things about your parents. And let's face it, no matter what the issue, that's really hard, difficult. And so picking who you want to connect with, how much you want to share, I encourage sharing bits at a time and seeing how it goes. Trying to gauge sort of reaction. More commonly than not, given the prevalence of mental illness being so high, most people are going to say they know someone who has mental illness too. So you may be surprised that it may not be like, oh, wow, or they may kind of already have a sense or know or things of that nature. So yes, you may get disappointing responses. And at those times, it's so important to use the healthy coping strategies. And we have a whole page on those, whole section on how to take care of your spirit when you're hurting. So important. But my encouragement is to keep trying, because hopefully you will find people who will really listen, who won't rush in to give advice or judge. It can be hard when we're hurt, but keep trying. And if you're just simply not able to find people, perhaps talk to your parents about you'd like to see a mental health professional or a clergy or someone like that or a family advocate. There are lots of people who might be able to support you. But keep trying. It's too heavy. It's too much to try to walk on your own.
Dr. Sherman, as we talk about the power of relationship, I think my last question is actually a big question. How do we strengthen the relationship between the teen to the parent and then the parent to the teen?
Oh, great question. It's so important. It's so important. I come from kind of an attachment perspective. That's how I think about relationships and parents and children. And so mental illness aside for a second, having both sides lean into trying to have relationship be a safe base, a place where both people can feel seen and connected, and the child feels that they're cared for. Part of the challenge with mental illness, as we spoke a couple minutes ago, is that at times it can be cyclical and unpredictable, which again can lead to disappointment and not contribute to secure attachment and knowing that when I ask for you, you're always going to be there. So at those times, I think having either other adults or older siblings step in, or having a parent with illness be able to communicate in ways that I'm really sorry. I'm really disappointed. It's not going to work out for me to come to your soccer game tonight. I'm really going to commit to being able to come next time. So being able to talk about it rather than the kid wondering, what's going on. And then really leaning into and looking for rituals or things that they can do on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be big, expensive things. It can that we take the dog to the dog park. It can that we go and get a coffee together. Any of these sorts of things that can be enjoyable. It can be playing checkers, playing a board game, having that time when things are connected to be able to have those special times together and enjoy those. And remember that at times when your parent is struggling, that it's not about you. That yes, it's more important for you to take good care of yourself at that time, but it's not about you. And so as I was saying earlier, in the reciprocal direction, empowering kids that there are ways you can show your parent you can love them, and be careful that you're not taking responsibility for their well-being. Hard, tricky, right? But I think there are ways that we can empower young people to show their parent that they care. And the biggest thing to me is spending time. I was talking to a psychologist the other day who was talking about oftentimes teens say, well, I don't want my parent around, or I don't want to talk, or leave me alone, or things like that. And so the coach of just being in the same room, you don't have to talk to them, just being present, just being there. So show up, be consistent, explain, give information in a developmentally appropriate way, be open for questions so the child can understand and feel safe, because normally it shouldn't be a one-time conversation, right? This is something that kind of evolves over time. And then really leaning into when things are better, making that quality time together. And then letting them know, I'm sorry, kid, I can't help you with your homework tonight, or I can't take you to your dance rehearsal, but my sister, my aunt, your aunts can, or other people who can be there for you when I can't.
I love that. Show up, be consistent, empower and involve with them, lean in, and be open, be honest when you just cannot do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there are times mental illness makes it really, really, really hard. Parenting is hard to begin with, right? Much less when you perhaps are really heavy with a depression or in a manic state. Hearing voices or seeing things or having beliefs, you just cannot be present with your toddler being on the ground playing, Legos, or with your teenager and talking about their latest video game or whatever it may be, or disciplining them because they acted inappropriately. Sometimes mental illness just is so consuming that it makes it that they can't. So who else is on the team? Who else can help?
Mm-hmm. Dr. Sherman, any final words for parents listening in today? I know this has been so helpful. Now, what I love about your work is that it's It's not based in some like psychological theory that's really hard to touch. It's like it's super concrete.
Good. Yes, my biggest message is hope. Our company's name is Seeds of Hope Books. And relationships, family, mental illness, this is hard stuff. You don't have to be perfect. There are going to be times that you're going to mess up, times that your kid's going to act up. That's okay. If you lean into and try to strengthen that bond, that connection, usually children are going to be resilient. You're going to be okay. Get additional support from them, but keep showing up when you can. Communicate. And also communicating to your children a message of hope. Because let's face it, there are new treatments, new therapies, new options, and you're role modeling healthy coping by getting help. So telling your children you're going to counseling, you're taking medication, whatever, at developmentally appropriate ways, but you're role modeling healthy behaviors by saying, yeah, this is really, really hard, but I'm going to my support group tonight, or I'm going to reach out to my family advocate, whomever else, that I'm not alone, our family isn't alone. And just like when our family went through grandma's cancer, a lot of people brought over casseroles and helped and things like that. Same now that our family's going through a tough time, but we can go through this together. So spirit of hope.